With what happened at Martinsville yesterday, it made me think about NASCAR team orders again. I'm going to call this team orders in chase question marks. And the reason being, Brad Keselowski had mechanical problems. Joey Logano finished okay, and if he would do that next week, finish okay, he could probably point it at Texas. He could probably point his way in at Phoenix. But remember, there's going to be two cars point their way in now. The winners automatically locked in. Dale Jr. was not chase eligible. He had fallen out after Talladega, and he won the race, so they'd actually lose an extra spot. And I will say this for Rick Hendrick. He has long said he does not do team orders before Jr. ever came on board, and he proved it yesterday. He had two chances to ask Jr. to pull over and let Gordon win the race, and he didn't do it. They interviewed him during the last red flag, and he said, nope, they raced for it. I want to see them race each other clean, which they did. They actually never got that close to one another late in the race, but that was fine. But let's go through some possibilities, what could happen, and Kevin Harvick having his dust up with Matt Kenseth. I'm actually going to do another one on that, be the last one for today, probably, unless breaking news comes on Race Hub later or something. It's 7 o'clock Eastern time, but let's say get to Phoenix, and the only way Brad Keselowski is going to get in the Final Four is to win Phoenix, and Joey Logano's leading and Brad Keselowski's second. Does Roger Penske pull Joey Logano over for Brad Keselowski? Would he do it? Penske has a history of IndyCar where I've always believed there's been some team orders in IndyCar. I can't prove it. I know there is in Formula One. That's common knowledge. Let's go to another scenario, and this one could get interesting. Kevin Harvick drives for Stewart-Haas Racing, their only car in the chase. Can you imagine if Kurt Busch is leading and Kevin Harvick's running second, them telling to Kurt Busch to pull over and let Harvick win so he can go for the championship? Well, I'd like to hear the uncensored radio chatter on that one. Yeah, right. Now, Stewart, with an owner stake in it, he may be more willing to do it than Busch. Well, and then the fourth car's Danica. Enough said there. She's not going to be leading anyway. But I know, Danica fans, put your dislike on it. I don't care. But this actually brings up some interesting points. Would they do it? Right now, points-wise, Gordon, Keselowski, and Logano. No, not Keselowski. Gordon, Logano, and Kenseth look okay on being locked in points-wise, just good, solid finishes, and they'll get in more than likely on points because there's only going to be two winners. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting, although I've said this before. I don't like this new chase format. You're basically going to bring it down to 4 drivers, 1 race, and the driver who finishes ahead is going to win the championship. I don't like it. I'm not the biggest fan of the chase to begin with. Should be a season-long championship just like it is in the Nationwide or whatever it's going to be called next year in the trucks. My opinion, for what it's worth.